episode of I Am Negan, a TWD Universe podcast that's been going on for about 45 years. Thanks again for following, subscribing over on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, all those platforms that we've been on, and it's always great. We're all here. My name is Adam Vale. I'm a senior editor over at the Koalition.com. You can check us out. We got all that good jazz of game reviews, movie reviews, interviews, you name it, we got it. So it's been there forever as well. So thank you. And we have our senior editor. Well, sorry, senior editor. I'm lost. Editor in chief Richard Bailey Jr.
What's up, Adam? What's up, listeners and viewers?
And Throwdown shows Carlos Romero.
Yo, what's going on?
So, Carlos, real quick, it sounded like you were going to say something, but I think you weren't sure if we had started recording or not. Is that what was going on?
Yes, but it has nothing to do with I Am Negan or the Walking Dead universe. It's something separate that we will talk afterwards, which might be big news. But we'll get to that after the show.
Oh shoot!
It's gaming related. So
gaming related. Oh boy! Please don't tell me it's more Ubisoft news because that's been out of control lately.
Not related to that.
Oh boy! All right, so here we are for Daryl Dixon, season 2, episode 2, Moulin Rouge. A very easy name to remember to say because we're familiar with the Broadway show and all that, but here we are. So if you haven't seen this episode, if it's your first time tuning in, we will break down and discuss the episode. So full spoilers. If you haven't seen it, go watch it AMC Plus or on cable on AMC when it airs. We will have this posted right afterwards, so don't worry if it pops up on your feed and like, hey, they're spoiling it. No spoiling. You should have already watched it. But yeah, that's the rundown. So man, 3, 2, 1. This was big. This was a packed episode. A lot happened in this episode. We got a little bit of everything from Carol to Daryl to love affair, you name it. Crazy murders and murders, I'm saying, because there was actual people that died, not just walkers. And some crazy different situations. So they definitely delivered in this episode. And so far with this season, I'm pretty happy. Hopefully the people watching this show, Walking Dead fans, are happy and can spread the love and tell their friends who have walked away because they only follow Mothership, which is over, to like, hey, it's okay. You can come back in and watch these spinoffs. You know, we don't work for AMC. Don't like, oh, these advocates. Oh, look at them. They got their show. No. We're just fans of the product, of the universe. We like The Walking Dead. And as I mentioned in the last episode, these are still main characters from the original crew. So it's not like some whacked out spinoff that makes no sense. This does make sense. Daryl and Carol makes perfect sense. So let's just follow their journey and enjoy it. So on that note, in traditional fashion, if there's multiple story arcs and the camera cuts from different spots, we try to pick one storyline and just follow it through and then jump to the next. So, Rich, Carlos, which one do we start with? Carol's journey or with Daryl? Both are interesting this week. So,
yeah, I felt like both were really strong. I would start with Carol maybe first, and then we could end with Daryl since we did the opposite last time. And I feel like they kind of switched in terms of which one was the more interesting one, but they were both interesting.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Rich?
I agree. Let's go with Carol first.
Both. Off we go. We are now in the plane flying over Greenland. They have made it on this little crop duster of a plane. It's a miracle, but hey, they land. They only had some fuel line issue, right? It wasn't a fuel issue. It was just a fuel line. Something was going on with it. We see some walkers up in this beautiful hill land area. It was very nice. And I was really, and I said this while we were watching this, I was like, man, I want to see these runners. I want to see the running zombies. Can't call them walkers at that point, right? We were teased that and World Beyond. We were also teased a little more last season in Daryl when they were showing all the experiments that they were performing. And there was a few that they showed that can run, and we're like, I want to see this out in the wild. We haven't seen it yet, and this would have been a perfect time because we see her with her crossbow. She's like easy pickings. We got 3, boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, come on, just show a 4th one, just gunning it toward her, just to throw her off. Like, whoa, what is this? But no, it didn't happen. Instead, we got something else that's kind of cool, right? We got some walkers coming out of the ground. It looks like they had been laying there, sort of, which we're familiar with. And I forgot the term. There's a name for it. It was in the comics and also in Dead City when they talked about it, where not that they're dormant, but there's something about it. And you can go ahead, people, if you know this answer, go ahead on YouTube, put it in the comments. There is a name for it. I'm blanking on the name, where they just lay there. But then once they smell something or hear something, then they just get up. So they're not sleeping because they're dead, but
they're dormant.
It's something like that, but it's not dormant. They use their own word. They have their own word for it. But it was similar to that because then they get up, they got the foliage all over them, because they're out in the farmland or the hills. I don't think there was much farmland there, but just the hill area. And that was pretty cool. But then it takes something out because we know it's Carol. We know Carol is going to survive. So as much as it was startling, right, for that one to grab her leg and pull her down, and the other one come up, and she's trying to fight him off. She's screaming for Ash's help. And so, did we ever really think she was in danger? No, right? I mean, we can't unless they want to have where the walker bit her leg, and you have to amputate. Now she's walking around with a peg, and nope, not happening. Not happening.
It's the book of Carol, not the page of Carol.
Exactly. The book. We got more chapters, right? So Ash comes over, saves the day, helps out, but then also there's a buckshot that comes off from the distance, and you hear a woman's voice screaming, "Welcome to Greenland." So right off the bat, what you guys think of this opening? I thought it was all right. Like I said, I just wanted to see a runner. I thought this would have been a good setup, but I feel like they're holding off on that. I don't know why, because they teased it so many times, but I really want to see that. But Rich, what did you think of this opening?
I thought it was a pretty good opening as far as how the episode ended last week, where you saw them in the air. This is pretty much a continuation into what happened next. So I didn't have any issues with how they opened it. I do believe we will see the runner at some point, because that was in the trailer. So at some point this season, we will see those other zombies, walkers, show up. But yeah, I was okay. I was okay with the intro.
Yep. What about you, Carlos?
Yeah, I thought it was good. I liked the scenery. It reminded me a lot of Andor. For any of those that watched Andor, that kind of those plains in the mountains region looked pretty cool. Yeah, those new walkers looked interesting. I was like, oh, so what twist did they have on those? But it looks like they were just, hiding in the cut, somewhere in the Greenlands. Yeah, I like the way they started. The part right after that got really interesting.
Oh yeah.
We'll get to that.
Yeah. Let's just get into this, man. Man, I wish they would have taken a page out of like Quentin Tarantino on how he filmed some of his movies, and where he'll just like boom, like a big splash screen of whatever that segment is called, and stuff like that. It would have been great, sort of like what we saw in is it Hateful Eight? Because here it is.
Mm-hmm.
It's Hannah and Aaron. They should have just said boom, Hannah and Aaron. It's like, what? Because this was out there. This was definitely, and I loved it because I was like, this is what I want. I don't want that every time they find someone, it's like, oh, we're just good people and we're here to help and stuff. I miss the days from The Walking Dead proper where it's like, oh, we're here to help, remember? And then, they're cannibals and they're like, you're going to help us because you're going to fatten up. We're going to eat you. It's going to be great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. And now every time I see something like this where they find these new people, oh, we helped you out. There's these two ladies. This is great. We were students out here during doing some research, or right, something of that effect before the fall. Everything happened, all right? And hey, we're cooking here. And I'm like, go ahead, open up. What are you making? And the first thing Carol says, because she's got PTSD. She's been there before. Wait. What are you cooking? And it's like, oh, it's reindeer. It's like, oh, okay. All right. So, well, she opens up the pot to show reindeer, whatever. But man, it gets so crazy, and I really didn't see it coming. But then I did think something was going to happen. I thought something crazy, but not as weird with all this, because as we know, Aaron decides, well, she's going to help Ash, right? Go help out with the fuel line and whatever stuff he needs, deal with that stuff. And Hannah is just, Carol says she wants to stick behind and help cook and do some stuff, And so we hear a little story with Hannah talking about, well, maybe this was meant to be. This isn't so bad. They have that whole discussion. And that's something that we've heard in previous episodes of, you name it, Walking Dead, from Dead City to all of them. There's always somebody out there who's like, whether they didn't go so far as religious beliefs for this one, but some people thinking, hey, this is the cleansing, right? This is what needed to be done. People die, then the ones that survive rebuild, regrow, and start anew. So she's sort of spatting off some of that stuff to Carol. Carol isn't going hard on, like, you're wrong, besides saying, our loved ones died. But it's like, all right, whatever. We're only going to be here for a little bit, right? But man, that went from a little weird to full crazy. And it was some things that I didn't understand, because while sitting at the table with Carol and Hannah, and Hannah's looking at the crossbow. And I was like, oh, can I see it? Like, yeah, okay. And then grabs an arrow and then loads it up. Clearly, Carol knows something's going on. Why didn't she stop her? That's what was going through my head. I was like, why are you letting her then load the crossbow and then slightly move it on the table and point it right at her? I don't know what I thought. Maybe she had a gun underneath, the table pointing at her, Johnny Depp style and Once Upon a Time in Mexico type of thing. It's like, oh, go ahead, point it. Oh, I just shot you in the gut. But no, that wasn't the case. And Hannah's talking crazy, and it's like, oh, I lost the bet, and this and that. I don't want to kill you, but I have to kill you. And before we go into the Aaron thing, did you see that coming? Did that make any sense to you, Carlos, with all this?
Well, and this is a part of why I like this episode a lot. It's the thing with the reindeer girl, Hannah.
Yeah, Hannah.
They didn't pretend like she wasn't crazy. Like, we knew off the bat, this person is crazy. What's gonna happen next? It's not one of those, okey doke things that they always pull out. It's like, no, we know something's gonna happen. Just wait for it. So that I like that aspect of it. And yeah, she was like giving off these weird ass vibes, and I'm like, all right. So and then Carol, remember, Ash and them left off, and then Carol stayed behind. She's like, no, you go, I'll stay here. And then that's when they went with the crossbow stuff. Yeah, I'm surprised that Carol put herself into that predicament. She grabbed something at the table. I don't know what it was. It looked like either a knife or a pen or something, maybe for self-defense. But yeah, maybe the way to excuse it is maybe she was letting herself become sort of the victim in this situation, so she can get the information as quickly as possible from her.
Yeah, but that's a lot of trust. That's a lot of trust that she thinks she can stop a flying arrow from that distance. You know what I mean? It's like once I would see the person loading the arrow is when whatever it's a pen or knife just goes flying across the table. I'm like, no. We're not going any further. There's no reason for you to load my crossbow. No. What about you, Rich?
Well, I will say this. This is actually one of the things I like about the episode a lot, because one of the strengths of the original Walking Dead show is that obviously it's an apocalypse. Obviously, you're worried about the walkers and the danger of the walkers, but it's also the danger of humanity and the fact that people can go crazy, and you're not supposed to trust anybody. That's what Rick said, right? You're not supposed to trust anybody. So I was glad to see this in this episode, because again, it started out innocent with these two characters saving them, and then all of a sudden they're ready to turn on them and basically take whatever they have to use to their advantage. I thought that was excellent because that is a perfect depiction of how it would be in an apocalypse, where it's everybody for themselves. So it made me feel a lot like the original Walking Dead as far as how people are reacting. When she asked about if he wants another kid, yeah, crazy stuff, but it makes sense. You know, they need to go full crazy. So
yeah, let's get into that. That's right, because then when they flips to see what's going on with Aaron and Ash, and they were on their walk, she's asking questions about Carol. Why are you guys here? Oh, a daughter. Isn't it? You have any kids? Oh, I had one, but you know how that goes. And she embraces him. She hugs him with a deep hug. And remember, I sort of joked, and I was like, she's going to say, do you want another one? And then sure enough, that is exactly what was on her mind. She was like, hey, we need to start rebuilding everything, and I'm ready. I already picked the name for my kid. Hannah already picked. You're gonna be busy, buddy, so let's just do this natural. You know, I think there's songs about how this should be done. You want to do it right here or so. And you know, I sort of joked, but then I thought about it. I'm like, if she's willing to help me with all the supplies and stuff, hey, why not? Do what you got to do and then get out. You know, but he didn't know how crazy or that they planned on killing, you know, Carol. So I was like, well, yeah, he didn't know. But still, it was kind of bizarre to see all that. And he was like, no, I don't want to help. I'm not dealing with this. And then what? Then you're going to have to die, right? I thought she was going to kill him. So that's where I sort of get confused, because I was expecting some kind of altercation at that point or something. It didn't happen. Because then when we cut back to Hannah and Carol, Hannah still has the crossbow pointed at Carol, and it's like, oh, I don't want to do this. I hate the way my life is, blah, blah, blah. Carol is trying to explain, well, we could take you with us. I don't know how. You see how small that plane is. I don't see how that's going to carry all that fuel plus 3 people or whatever. So it's talking all this, trying to convince her to stand down. And all of a sudden, Aaron shows up, and it's like, why is she still doing alive? And at that point, I was like, well, I guess they killed Ash off camera. Something happened. I don't really understand how this whole thing happened. But she was like, hey, if you wasted too much time, if you don't do it, I'm going to do it. Hannah freaks. First pretty cool kill of the episode. She points the crossbow at Aaron, shoots her right in the forehead, which sticks her to the wall. She's just standing up. That was pretty cool. I was really surprised by that, because it sounds like they've been together for a long time out there, and it seemed, again, maybe she wasn't that crazy. Maybe she was just drinking Aaron's Kool-Aid the whole time, because Hannah is the one that gave that whole speech about, you know, maybe this is for a reason and this and that and rebuilding. But to go quick 180 of like, oh, I don't want to be here anymore, I'm tired of this. I don't know. Go ahead.
It makes sense to me, because if you think about it, they've been stuck together for all this time, and like they mentioned, it's only been them two, so they've been stuck with each other for years. So there's really no other choice but to be with each other and play. You know, maybe Aaron was more of the influential one, the one that was, you know, pressing more on ideals and stuff, and it seems like the Hannah was more of like okay, I'll go along with this because I need to survive.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I felt like that speech would have been better if it was delivered by Aaron, and then Aaron leaves, and then Carol's like, well, all right, well, she's a little off with her thought process there, but let me see how Hannah is. I'll stick around with you and help you cook, and let me pick your brain a little bit. It would have been great, because clearly it was all Aaron. But anyway, Aaron's dead now. So what happened to Ash? Well, let's go find out. So then, you know, Carol and Hannah go on a little trip. Hannah's talking all this stuff. Oh, this is great. You're going to take me along, and I'm happy. We're leaving, and poof, she gets shot also, right? And was it the chest area, right? And it was from the flare. Now, we had seen that flare gun right when they landed. We saw Ash have it in his hand and then like stored it away on the side. And at first I thought it was a gun, but you know, Carlos, you realized it was a flare gun, and that was something that wasn't shown before. So I'm like, well, they're showing this for a reason. It's going to come into play somehow, and this is where it comes into play. But what I didn't understand is, was he tied up at on the wing, or
Yes,
how
it
did
looked like He was handcuffed or something like that.
Yeah, he was handcuffed him, but then again, how did that come about? Uh, it didn't look like there was a fight or a struggle. I don't know. I get why they did that because of setting up the scene and what you wanted to do. Clearly it wasn't that tied up that he could still reach for the flare gun and to give off one shot, whatever. But he said, I had to do it. She was going to kill you. And Carol could have gone down. It's like, no, I was under control. I already diffused that situation. But no, she goes with it. You're right. You did a good job. She would have killed us. And then they had the little conversation in the plane. He was like, because now they take off, and he's like, oh, have you ever killed somebody? He's like, oh yeah, I've killed a lot of people. That was his first, but that was a big scene right there, and I really enjoyed it. Maybe it could have been a full episode if they went a little further with it, but I think it was all right. It was all right. It wasn't too bad with that whole segment. All right, so let's just get to the nitty gritty for Carol, because now, poof, safe travels. They made it to France. We get this nice overhead shot, Eiffel Tower, all the big spots. It looks beautiful. Of course, they added their own filter, Walking Dead style, dilapidated buildings and empty streets and stuff. Very cool. You know, we saw a lot of that with the first season of Daryl Dixon, and it's proof this is on location. And that's the other thing. They are on location. It's not a back lot in Georgia. So this is great. They find a spot to land, and Carol wants to go solo again. Now, she gives this whole speech about how she's been on her own for a long time. She doesn't need backup. Well, she just needed it a few minutes ago, twice pretty much. I mean, we could it's back and forth argue about the Hannah thing, but definitely when that walker pulled her to the ground and she was getting swarmed on, she needed help. And one of the things we learned is that Ash is pretty good with his French. She can't speak French besides say, what was it, ah oui oui, and I think she said one other word of war. But that's not going to carry, you know. But she convinces him, and this is the thing, and I want to get your guys' thoughts on this. When she says, "You wait here, I'll be right back." All right. So within 2 weeks, it's like scratch the record, because like 2 weeks, that's a long time for somebody to just pretty much wait for someone to arrive and to get the sense of time and stuff. Like, how do you know? You really got to start scratching up on prison, you know, the side of a wall, prison style, just marking the days and looking at the sky. Because I mean, when you're out of touch, out of loop, I'm sure their watches aren't working or anything. It's kind of hard to distinguish how many days and stuff. So I don't know. I just found it comical when she said, "Wait here, I'll be back in 2 weeks." And she's still, we were all arguing about this. She's still keeping with the lie of like, well, I'll be back with my daughter. Come on now. What she should have at that point come clean and say, hey, this is what's really going on. Because what is he going to do at this point? Wait, he's going to fly off again? No, he's not. But she's sticking with the lie. What do you think, Rich? How'd you feel about all this?
Well, I agree that she could have said something about the lie, but I feel like they're saving that for a bigger moment, a bit, you know, a couple episodes from now, if not the next episode, directly afterwards, because there was some other stuff that happened in this episode that I think were big moments. So they didn't want to put too much in one particular episode for either Carol or Daryl. So, but overall, I did think it was a very funny line to give him 2 weeks. And like, he's just supposed to stay in the middle of nowhere for 2 weeks and wait for her to come back. Come on now. That was kind of comical. But no. But no, I do think at some point he is going to find out the truth. He will not be happy, because the whole reason why he took this trip was because she said she wanted to save her daughter. And we already know where Sophia really is right now. So
yeah. What about you, Carlos? What do you think about this?
I agree. I'm glad you mentioned the whole Carol not coming clean in that moment. I felt like that was a perfect moment to come clean, be like, hey, I want to let you know that it's not my daughter. I know she's gone. I'm looking for my friend. And if you want to leave right now, I would understand. Like, I feel like that would have been the perfect moment. But no, still going up with this lie because they want to bring up conflict later. And this is the only way they can do it. So not a big fan of that. I will mention this is probably one of the best episodes of any of the spinoffs. It's kind of, I feel like this is one of the best, and this is probably like the only negative of it, unfortunately. But good thing it's only a smart portion of the episode. And yeah, I don't feel like it's hard to keep the dates. Although he did say, "I'll just wait until you come back." Like, so the days don't really matter. It's like, oh, you'll just wait there until.
Well, what until you get hungry or something? I mean, I don't know how much food they have. I don't
Well,
know how much
he's going to be scavenging because he said, I'll look for fuel.
Yeah. Well, he has to look for fuel. But what was it? Did they decide to land at that racetrack? I think so, right?
Yes.
That was they decided a racetrack. So if there should be some fuel around. Hopefully, who knows? But the next scene with this is pretty cool. We see her walking through Paris. A lot of memorable locations, not the same one from Daryl, but just memorable locations when you go out there to France. And it was very beautiful to see, especially with the Walking Dead filter on it and see everything the way it was. Really cool. But the part that really comes up is that's interesting with this is as she's going through the streets, we hear a truck come by, and this is where the test comes in. It's like, well, does she announce who she is or just say, hey, I'm a survivor? It looks like a military truck, so you would think, but then she takes cover just to observe, and smartly so, because the soldier gets out, the driver, he roughs up somebody on the side of the road there. She decides to run over, see what's in the back there, the cargo. She gets an apple and she punctures the hole of a bag that has some kind of flour, and that's to produce a trail that she can follow. And that's it, and that's exactly what happens. It takes off. It's got the trail forming, and she's just following. So I guess that was all right. I don't know, something about that just didn't sit right with me, but I get it. They had to give her some sense of direction, because the truth is, and again, people, leave in the comments if you know this, I don't know if she has an actual address of anywhere to go in France. At first, I was thinking that maybe she was going based off of the address of the French company that was going to America to pick up the American walkers, and bring them back. Maybe there was something that she found that said their office location in France, and that's where she was going. That's what I was assuming. I can't back any of that up because I don't remember her ever seeing an address. So it's like she just went to France and was like just stumbling around, and it's gonna ask, hey, anybody know this American with shaggy hair, talks like this? Anybody know this person? Because I guess that's where they're going with it. But she doesn't have to worry too much, because another part that just threw me off, especially compared to the last scene where she was very cautious. In this next scene, she sees where the truck went. You see a bunch of people. They're all handing in weapons and stuff to get closer to what appears to be some kind of speech or rally or something. But then there's also trucks there with food and supply. And I thought, well, this makes sense. Go, take cover, just observe. You don't speak French anyway, so it doesn't matter what this person's going to say. You're not going to understand. But she doesn't. She walks over. She gives all her weapons, and I'm looking to see if they give a receipt or something so that way she could claim her weapons when she leaves the rally or whatever it is, and she doesn't. So right there, I'm thinking, maybe again overthinking, but I'm like, well, this doesn't make much sense. And then, of course, we saw that the general woman from the last season come out, give this whole speech about how things are working out, this and that. Any questions? People start getting upset, so she bucks some shots. Then that's when they start doing like this dividing, taking people, grabbing them, putting them in different trucks. She's like, this is the part where I take my exit. A guy, this I don't understand. Also, why did she want to drive the truck like that? Wasn't going to be noticeable that she just took off a truck. I thought, well, why don't you go back to the little check-in station and just get your weapons and keep moving? Like, I'm not interested. I don't need your cabbage. I'm out. But no, she doesn't do that. The former driver of the vehicle notices her. She gives him a punch to the gut and the face, knocks him down. But when she turns around, already some old soldiers are there, and the general is off the podium there and now just standing right there. But I guess she liked what she saw and says, all right, take her away. She's going on that other truck. which we'll get into. But before we go any further, did that even make sense to you? Like, like you said, Carlos, this is a great episode. I also like this episode, and I had two gripes. One, which was what we talked about before about her not telling Ash the real motive and what she's really doing there. And two, this, you were so cautious just a scene ago. But now that you see what's going on with the government or whatever this military force is and how they treat the people and stuff, why would you just walk into that situation, giving your weapons and be like, oh, yeah, let me just stand here? She could have observed from a distance. I don't know. What did you guys think of that, Carlos? What do you guys think?
Well, I agree that's a possible scenario to take, but she's only got 2 weeks. She gave herself 2 weeks, so she's gotta go, man. She's gotta go in and get dirty into the with the peoples. Yeah, I mean, I didn't see it as too bad just because she was observing how they were acting, and it looks like, you know, the people were used to going to that place to get food and to put in their weapons and stuff. So I didn't take as much offense to that in terms of just the way that they handled it. So yeah, didn't have an issue. I found it interesting when they separated the two dudes, and I'm like, oh, this is gonna pay off in, you know, later in this episode, and it did. So that was pretty cool. Yeah, I like the way cut the little grain of rice that kept or wheat, or I don't know what it was, at the end to make the little trail.
So, Rich, did you also get this whole, like, once they started doing the divide? Because I think they made it really clear of what was going on. Once Carol was talking to the guy next to her, and he says, oh, yeah, I taught English and this and this and that. And my husband's in the other one, and he's following behind. And then we see that one detour, and he's freaking out. Where is it going? What's going on? Why did they split us up? I don't know. And right there, it was just still like a light bulb went off, because even before that, when it's more like, if you have a resource or you can be seen as a resource, then we will keep you. But if not, because as we know from last season, they do experiments on people, and I guess it's the lessers, or maybe people they feel are just going to be useless. So they're like, all right, well, these are the ones we're going to do experiments. They're in truck B, I'm going to call it. In truck A, we'll find a place for you to do some stuff. Clearly, I think Carol, the way she fought, they saw that. They're like, all right, she's a fighter. We can use her for something. The other guy is a scholar. He was a teacher and all that. We don't know what his husband's role in life was, but clearly he did not impress, because he's off to the glue factory. So what did you think of that? Did it was cool with you with the whole setup here of how she infiltrates?
I think it's fair to critique it. I personally, my mindset is her job is to find Daryl, and she doesn't know if this is going to lead her to Daryl. She's assuming that it might, so this is why she's playing along to basically find out where Daryl is. So I don't really have too many issues with that. My only real critique of this episode is the big bad, the lady in charge, right? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Last week, Daryl had her at gunpoint, and then she disappears. We never got an explanation as to how the hell she escaped. And I thought in this episode, you would have saw a scene or something of her getting away. Obviously, we know maybe she had some assistance from somebody. Obviously, we'll get into that a little bit later, of those that lied about who they really are and what their real motives are. But we should have got an answer to that in this episode, because this is not somebody that can magically disappear and reappear in a different place. So I thought there was going to be an explanation of that. That's my only real critique. But it is what it is. They just wanted to hurry up and get to a result. So that's why they took that route. But as for this situation, I didn't have too many issues with it, because, you know, she's in a foreign land. She doesn't know where she's going. All she knows is that she's trying to find Daryl, so she's going to play along until she gets some answers.
Yeah. And I'll tie this into her segment, because it's still linked to the big bad, the woman in charge, because we see the soldier, that woman that was in charge there of the group. She talks to the woman that you were just talking about that escaped, and they were like, all right, well, let's just go back to interrogating, go out there, do what you're doing. And then we find out, I'm pretty sure that the guy that's being tortured is the guy who was in charge of the boat that helped them get to the nest with Carol, Isabelle, and the boy, right? I think that's him.
No,
this
that's
is the
that's the same villain from last season.
that is the villain.
Because
Okay,
yeah,
all right,
yeah,
okay.
the same guy. They decide this. They're now torturing, which again, a very bad move because why don't you just kill the guy if he's of no use to you? Because now when there is a revolt against her, he is going to play a role in that. So it doesn't really make any kind of sense. And I've seen that in a lot of movies and TV shows. You leave somebody alive, now they'll come back and get some type of payback.
I got an idea.
So, what's that?
I got an idea. I'm going to say this is a Resident Evil nemesis situation. They are going to run experiments on him and turn him into some kind of crazy monster.
Yeah, maybe.
Or do something. They're going to mess with his brain, and he's going to be some weird half-walker monster creature that they can control. That's what I'm thinking now. Because remember, they're all about experiments and stuff. And like you said, why torture him? Who cares? Yes, he failed. Like she said, the whole thing. Oh well, we're gonna go after the American, the nun, the boy. You failed it. You didn't do it. He kept saying he can produce that, and he didn't. Then what do you get out of this for torturing him? Unless you use him for some experiment. He is a big diesel dude. They show he had no shirt on. He's got pecs. He's been working out, and he's a tall guy. So I have a feeling they have plans of running some experiments on him. That's just my thought on that.
Well, he's gonna turn out to be a good guy.
Oh, you think he's gonna flip?
Oh yeah. I mean, he's getting tortured by the big bad now. So it's like so you think they're gonna let him go, or he's gonna escape? Well, he's gonna escape with Carol. It seems like that's the goal.
Okay.
I personally feel like yes, he will help Carol, but his fate is still sealed. He's still going to get killed by the end of the season. That's my guess.
Just like his brother. Oh,
yeah. Because even if he does escape, he will have a target on his back. They're going to get rid of him. He's going to have he did something good for somebody, so he can live with all the other bad stuff he did. But he was still going to get taken out before this season is over.
Yeah. All right. So you guys think that I'll just say I stand alone. I think he's going to turn into some kind of mutation. That's it. But speaking about people that flip, let's flip over to Daryl, because there is some flipping going on with this community. So we talked about it in the last episode, and we've all seen that episode, what's going on, where it looks like that guy who's running the show is he a priest? I don't know if they really say he's a priest or a monk, or he's
the Asian dude.
Yeah. What's his title in that community? Because
I think he is a priest.
All right, so let's say he's a priest, right? So we're not trusting of this man. He's already made it known that he has some issues with Daryl spending time with Laurent. Maybe he doesn't like the fact that he's teaching him how to fight and all this stuff. And it wasn't not that he wants Laurent to not be able to defend himself, but he feels that that's distracting him from what they want him to be, which is compassionate and just to be more holy-like and not become a soldier. So we saw some of that, and that plays out more here as well, because it looks like there's still some more issues going on. So right off the bat, I'm trying to remember because I didn't put this one in my notes. Right off the bat, when we see them back at the base, there is a bunch of other issues going on where the priest was trying to figure out more stuff going on with the boy. Remember, he was having conversations with him about, well, how do you see things and what do you want to do? And it's more like the kid wants to spend more time with Daryl. I remember he was looking at the door and it's like, oh, well, I want to go do what? Oh, you have an appointment? You have something else? We have some lessons. And this is like, well, Daryl is going to teach me some stuff. We're going to go do some stuff. I mean, it was just baseball, but it still seems a little distracting. And then we've seen it. And there was a lot of little cuts between that priest and his second in command, the woman that works at this place, that they need to take Daryl out of the equation. There seems to be something going on with Daryl. Right, that was one thing we saw with Isabelle, and she's over there with when Daryl was out with the boy, he's showing him how to play baseball, and she's like, "Oh, what's going on?" He's like, "Oh, we need a catcher. You want to play catcher?" And the whole thing. So it's not so much that he's trying to turn the boy into a soldier, but it's just be part of the kid's life and then just interact in that way, as opposed to that priest and that community. They want to groom him to be the second coming or whatever it is. We still don't know. I mean, we find out toward the end of this episode what's really going on, which I still not too sure if that's going to work out. But it's just some of the things that they set up with that don't really make much sense. But I mean, what did you guys think of just seeing anything suspicious going on with this priest and his assistant and what they're doing with their thoughts with the boy?
Well, I said this from day one. There's something up with a priest dude. He obviously doesn't like the influence that Daryl is bringing, in particular to Laurent. Mm-hmm. And I knew something was fishy, and I was like, what is he gonna do? Because I think I said last week, I'm like, I think he might end up being the bad of this season. I don't know. It could still be the lady from that's from the compound in Paris, but yeah, I something was fishy with the guy. He doesn't like how he's making everything militant with Laurent and stuff, and also he's the de facto leader at the moment. And when people see someone that's a stronger leader than them, yep, they see that as a challenge. That's just how it goes. So he obviously has something against Daryl because of that. So all of this backdealing stuff, I saw it coming. The only thing I didn't see coming, and this is getting a little bit ahead, but the assistant is the one that actually made the call.
Oh yeah, and that's what we'll get into now, because it's already, like you said, we're thinking that the priest, he's killer priest, right? He's got his own agenda.
And I'm talking about Gabriel.
Right, there we go. But the thing is that yeah, I get it. Everybody was happy that Daryl was successful with the mission. He brought back their friends, the rebel fighters, and the whole thing. But then one of them, the one of the soldiers or whatever, which was the boyfriend of one of the other freed nuns from the original monastery, she's cutting his hair or whatever, doing his thing, and he's acting weird. Something's off with him. We were talking about a crazy eye. Something's not right. What happened? Now we find out, and I'll just throw it in because it was kind of weird. He's talking about how he saw some stuff. How come the other groups, the other members of your group aren't affected this way? I'm still confused by all of that, but something else happened with him. So anyway, it gets to a point where we got Isabelle and Daryl. They're having a little conversation about things, and she's talking. He was like, hey, this is where we thought something was definitely developing, when he starts talking about this, putting too much pressure on this kid. I don't know what they're expecting. And she was like, well, what do you care? You're going to be leaving soon, like 2 weeks. Oh, shoot. I didn't realize. She said 2 weeks, or she say a few weeks?
I think she said in a few weeks or something.
In a few weeks. All right, I wrote down 2 weeks. So that's right. All right. So then, because I was going to say, I was like, how did she know? 2 weeks there, 2 weeks with Carol. Everything's working out. It makes perfect sense. They're all going to fit on this plane. No, they're not. That whole crew is not fitting on that plane. Sorry, that's too many people. But anyway, it's too many, right? But he was like, well, you can come along with me, you and the boy. I was like, oh, let's start a family. Let's go to America, right? Let's do it. And she doesn't give an answer. There goes that. All right, next scene gets to where Isabelle wants to go visit the boy, see how his studies are going. He doesn't respond. When she's knocking on the door, she opens up, windows open. Boy is gone. How? And they look out the window. She's screaming for Daryl. Daryl looks like, oh, they escaped. They found some guy out there. And he was like, oh, I got hit in the head. They just took him. Oh, man. One guy had a tattoo on his face. Oh, and like, well, we have to go. I had a little issue with this scene only because they're on an island, right? I don't see... they travel by boat, but then I'm assuming this is a big craft that can carry their vehicles to bring them to the mainland for what they were doing to do the rescue and stuff. I'm not sure how this whole thing works with them getting on and off and nobody noticing, since they're surrounded by water. How do you not see a boat that shows up? I thought maybe he was still there. All right, and we'll get to that, because he's like, all right, well, we got to go find them. Let's go. And then they just leave, and that's where it goes to the whole Moulin Rouge and the whole thing with the mill, right? That they attack. But while they're off to go find the boy, right? You see that the previous nun that was having issues with her boyfriend acting weird and stuff, she notices that the assistant to the priest was still preparing a meal, right? Doing the whole meal for the boy like he did before. I was like, wait, what's going on here? Yeah. And she follows, and then sure enough, it goes all the way down a little trail and then through the side and the side of the island and into this creepy old basement area. And what does she see? Well, she sees the priest there, and then that was, if I remember, we don't see what happens to her, right?
We don't.
So we don't know. And we also, did you see the boy? I didn't see the boy there.
Oh no, he was there.
He was there? Okay, then
Yeah.
I must have seen. All right, so the boy's there, but we don't know what happened to her. But I'm assuming, because we'll just jump into now before we get into the whole conflict with Daryl, is that it makes it seem like the assistant was flying solo on a lot of these decisions that she was making, and she's the ruthless one, and it's not so much the priest. So I don't think he was going to pull a killer priest moment and kill that nun, but who knows? We haven't seen her. Maybe they did take her out. Whatever. But what we do know is that the boy is still on the island. So that part's done. But when we get to where Daryl is, Daryl, Isabelle, and the rest of the resistance that went over to that location, the mill factory, because this is where apparently they said that those people were, and there's awesome scenes here. A lot of good fight scenes, a lot of good killing action happening here. Daryl throws one right out the window. That was fantastic. He's like, "Get out of my face, sucker!" Woof, smashed right through. Right, he just chucked them. It was beautiful. There's another one shooting arrows on the stairs. Isabelle, don't worry, I'm a crack shot. Pop right in the head. That one goes tumbling down the stairs. I'm like, this is cool. You got a really good stunt team in France. This is great. I love it. Guy going through the window, one tumbling down the stairs. We got the resistance. I would say resistance leader, Graybeard, we'll call him. And he's fighting, doing a little fisticuffs with one of the other guys there. They find out during this whole time, though, that they recognize these people, and these are people that are from the nest. So clearly there's something going on, right? This is inside stuff. And then this again points to the priest, right? We're like, oh, just like you said, Carlos, this is what's going on here. Their job was to take these people out, Daryl and friends. Right, so he's having a fight, and then we see the creepo guy just standing there, the one that was part of their group, and he's not helping. Graybeard, he's not helping him. He's like, help me out. What are you doing? And he's like, he's not doing anything, but it's okay. Graybeard knows how to fight, grabs a knife, stabs a dude, kills him. But then the other dude picks up the gun, and it looks like he's about to take him out. But no, Daryl and Isabelle run in. This always throws me off when we see this in any movie and show. It's always like one person with a gun, multiple people with weapons. Put that down, or I shoot this one, and everyone puts their weapons down. Why? It's just no. I don't know. I feel like no, there's no point in putting down a weapon. Let's just all talk, and everybody maybe diffuse the situation. Because once you put down your weapon, he could still be a whack job and just like, I don't care, and then what? And then it's over. But this is where he spills the beans, and this is what I want your insight on now that we know what's going on. If this story arc here makes sense. He says, my job was to take you guys out, right? Daryl, Graybeard, the resistance leader guy, Isabelle, you guys are going to die because you're ruining everything with Laurent. You were going to take him away. That is not what we want, right? He is the chosen one, and we are going to prove it. Now, you could just put in little asterisks and little question marks. Prove it to who? Because this is a cult already, right? Of people that live on this. They should be believers regardless. Unless they plan to do this on the mainland, right? In France, and put together a big event. Because you have to prove this to the non-believers. Because believers, it's in the name. They believe. And they believe that he is a chosen one. So he says that they are going to have him get bit. and survive and prove that he's the one. I had some issues with this because I think we all figured that there was something going on with the priest. We thought maybe he was using this thing with the boy being special as a way for him to be the puppet master, if you will, because it's like, well, he's a boy, I'm the main guy, I'm going to pull the strings, the boy is going to follow me because I'm going to brainwash him, I'm going to control the people through the boy, because somehow these people think he is a chosen one because he was born from someone who was bitten. Okay, but that's not the case. That's not the case at all. The case at all is this: is that they want to prove that he is the one because of that situation, but that he can survive a bite. So then, how does this help everybody else? Unless they decide to start draining this kid's blood and drinking it. I mean, so that way everyone else gets immune. I don't understand. And even Greybeard tries to explain this. Like, how does any of this stuff even make sense? Like, how do you think of the logic? And eventually he takes him down, he kills him, whatever. And then now there goes that. Now the people know, Daryl, Isabelle, and Greybeard know what's going on and have to head back. So before I go any further, a lot going on there. But the main point is the story. We now know why they want this boy there and what they plan to do to prove to others that he's a chosen one. Does this make sense? Does this work out for you?
Yes, it does, because I called it. Remember, I said Last of Us situation. You know, we're talking about someone that could possibly be immune. In this case, we have no clue if they are or not, but it explains the purpose of why Laurent is such a special person, because they know his circumstances and they want to see if he's the one that can cure everything, or his blood can go into something that can make people either immune or do whatever. But at the end of the day, it's turning into a cult. They turned his image into a cult, where it's like it's convenient for people to follow another person. In this case, the priest dude. You know,
Yeah.
he's garnering all this power with the word of this kid being a chosen person, and he's being used as a tool for that means. So yeah, not surprised at all. I want to say I told you so, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people predicted this.
Yeah. Well, what we did predict, and Rich, you can jump in on this. We didn't predict. Finally, we see some real action happen for Daryl. It's been a minute for this guy. I mean, every time there's another female lead, even with Carol alongside Daryl on any of his adventures, people are like, oh, this is when they hook up. This is when they hook up. Even with back in the day with the girl, the two sisters, remember? And the one died. Like, oh, this is when they hook up. It didn't happen. Besides the one in the cabin with Dog, that was it. But man, we got that scene because right after that, when they were like, oh, we got to head back to the Nats, they're like, oh, it's low tide. We can't sail out. We can't make it. They have a heart-to-heart with Isabelle and Daryl. Isabelle was like, is that offer still stand? I want to go with you back to America. We're going to have a life. It's going to be dope. Are you excited? How do you feel? And he's like, this is how I feel. He leans in. They start going at it. And there you go. I'm sure there's a large majority of people, big Walking Dead fans, especially bigger Daryl fans, that are like, here we go. Right now he gets somebody, because he's not just someone that's there, but this is someone that he can fight alongside. She is a warrior nun, right? We joked about that in season 1. She's badass with weapons, and it was awesome to see. So what did you think, Rich? This is it. We got it. We got the moment.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people definitely would like to see Daryl with somebody else. We already saw in the original Walking Dead, he did have a relationship with another woman, eventually had to turn on her and take her out because she was the one that turned on them. So it is good to see him, embrace another relationship. You actually see him kissing and all this other stuff on screen. But I will say this, obviously a lot of people, they've always wondered about Carol and Daryl because they've always had a close bond and a sort of a weird relationship in the sense that everybody wanted them to try to get together. So I would be very curious to see how Carol reacts to this relationship when she sees Daryl with her. because I don't really know if they're going to go in that direction. But yeah, I was happy to see that. But let me just make a quick comment though about some of the other stuff you said. I do agree the action in the episode was excellent. As for the question about the story, I think it's fantastic because Carlos, every point he said is exactly how I felt. It does feel like The Last of Us. And the whole thing is that from season 1, this is the place they were saying that they needed to bring Laurent to. And it just so happens the people there have different intentions on how they want to utilize him. And of course, I also think it's good because the question that we've had since last season is, why is this character so special? So this tells me that when they have this ceremony, we're finally going to learn throughout the rest of this season why this character, whether or not he actually is special or is he just a fake. So I kind of feel like it's good because it means that they are listening to the feedback from the show and they are making an effort to improve it and answer every question that people might have. So I don't have any issues with the story whatsoever, but I am looking forward to seeing what happens next.
Well, there's one question they haven't answered. How is Connie going to feel about all this? What? if they go back to the Commonwealth, hi, this is my friend, new wife, Isabelle, and my new adopted son, Laurent. And Connie, I'm sorry. You know what I mean? Because everybody thought that relationship was there. You know, we thought this is it. It's Connie. He was caring for her. There was a lot going on, but it never happened. It didn't happen, and he bounced. So to come back with this family situation is going to be real interesting if that happens. You know, but yeah, that whole thing with Carol and stuff, that's also going to be interesting. I don't think she's going to care too much because remember, and I'm blanking on her name, but the girlfriend that he did have in the cabin with the dog, she knew about it because at the time she was with Ezekiel. And she was okay. She just wanted him happy. So I think that people can put that aside, that it was ever going to be more than just a friendship. This is it. I don't think she cares. I think she just wants to see her friend okay. You know, but yeah, that whole thing with the crew, with what's happening on the nest, and for people don't remember, the original thing was with the Laurent and over at the monastery with Isabelle and the sister got bit, who died, gave birth to this baby. The baby survived, turned into a normal boy. The priest of that monastery was telling another group, which is that priest that we know that's over at the nest, about all the stuff, and there could be something special with this child. That's how that all came about. So yeah, what's going to happen? And then so right toward the end, we'll just jump into it. When the priest is having the one-on-one with his assistant, and she's over here saying, "Oh, don't worry, Daryl and them, they're not going to come back and find this." What do you mean? She put all that in motion. You said it yourself. There is a big distraction. He served his purpose to bring him here. He did it. It's done. Now they need to go. Even the resistance leader, Graybeard, and even Isabelle, they got to go. They should all be dead by now. You know, and don't worry about it. Everything's going to be great. This is what we wanted. And that's it. It's kind of crazy to think that that's how this whole thing, because she says it, she's like, this is going to prove it. And if it doesn't, you know, she doesn't really say much about that, because what if he turns, right? What if he gets bit, he turns, and then they're like, oh, wow, now what? Now we've been living a lie. We did all this stuff. We put together this compound. We did all this thinking we had the chosen one, and we don't. We just had a little boy who got lucky in the womb and now just got bit and turned. I don't know. Part of me wants to see what happens. I don't think it's going to get to that point. I mean, we could speculate now, but I don't think we're going to see this in the next episode or any episodes. I think that Daryl is going to find a way with Isabelle and Graybeard to get Laurent off that island, out of the nest, and somehow get him. I can't say safety, because I don't know where there's anywhere safe, because he's not looking for Carol. He's not expecting to find somebody with a plane, like, oh, they're going to get me out of here. He doesn't know any of that. So I don't know. So what about you, Carlos? What did you think of that whole thing, the reasoning that the assistant gave to the priest? And do you think it's going to work out when they do this demonstration?
Is it going to work out? No. This is the Daryl Dixon show. Mm-hmm. He's the main character. Even the priest was pissed off. He's like, why did you do this? Going back to the whole Laurent thing, There's a reason why the priest doesn't want to make Laurent a fighter, or doesn't want Laurent to become a fighter and hang out with Daryl, because when Laurent gets older, he gets control, like he gets to control his destiny not only by using his brains, but by also by using force. So that it's just one of those things where they know how big of a threat they are, and the priest knows if they failed at taking Daryl's head off, there's going to be hell to pay.
Oh yeah.
And he knows this, and he's probably going to start planning for that. So yeah, not a good plan. I'm pretty sure Daryl is going to come up successful. Also,
and the resistance leader, come on now, he has his crew of men and stuff. It's like, you do something like this and he comes back, you lost your whole fighting force. You lost anyone that's out there to protect the nest, because they all follow him.
Yeah. And also, just going back to the whole plane thing, I think, if I recall correctly, I think that plane seats 4.
Oh, it seats 4. Well, that's one short. Someone's gonna have to sit on someone's lap there.
Yeah, you know? So someone is either someone's gonna sit on someone's lap. Maybe I'm misremembering, but I thought it was 4. But
I could have swore the whole back seat area was full of canisters for fuel for the trip.
No, the canisters were in a compartment somewhere else. I think. I could be wrong too. Who knows?
Who knows? Either way, I have a feeling they're never going to get on that plane.
Oh no, they're getting on that plane. The only thing that I'm worried about is Ash Ketchum going to be there.
Well, he's the only one that can fly the plane, unless that's something else Isabelle can pull off.
Well, Laurent could be like, I remember studying this in the books.
yes, Laurent. That's right. Maybe he can't fly a plane. He is the chosen one.
He's the chosen one.
He does have that. There we go. He can do everything. All right. With that out the way, let's see. I give this. What was it? We were going on the A/B scale, all that stuff. I give this an A-. This would have been an A+ just for some of the. If Carol would have came clean, that was a big thing for me. Pretty much that part. That's something I definitely wanted an answer to. But I liked it. I liked that there was a lot of action in this one. A lot of creative action with some of these things, with the Hannah and Aaron. That was very cool. I didn't see that coming in that way, and that was interesting.
It didn't drag on either, so that was
yeah. You know, there wasn't a lot of segments where there were just people walking around and talking, doing a lot of story building, but no action. No, they're throwing action in here with the story building in between, like with that henchman, and then with Gunpoint spilling the beans about what's going on and this and that with her. That was great. It's like, all right, cool. Now we're no longer guessing. We see where this is going now. Now there's a reason that they have to race back to the nest so they can get this done. So I'll give it an A-. But overall, so far, strong season. I'm enjoying it. You're enjoying the show when you're looking forward to the next episode, because you want to see where the story goes and how it progresses. And this is pretty cool, because I want to see where it goes from here. As we talked about a little bit with the big bad and what they're doing with the torturing of the guy and all that stuff. Like we know they do experiments. That's going to play a factor. So we have a bunch of different things coming into play here. It's getting interesting. So for me, A-. What about you, Rich?
I think it was a good episode. I'm going to give it a B+.
Whoa!
I'm not going to give any episode an A until I absolutely am confident it's that really amazing. I just think it was a really good story. The story is still being told. So yeah, I would say for me personally, it's a B+. But yeah, great. It was a great episode. I enjoyed it.
Yeah. Carlos?
If I'm grading this on a curve, and that curve being the previous spin-off episodes, this is an A+. Because it does everything it needs to do. It's concise, it's cohesive. The characters were good, the scenes were good, the action was good. There was suspense. There was not that many eye rolls. There's only a few eye rolls, but not that many on this episode. I think this at the least. And it's enticing. And like Adam mentioned, it wanted us more. It wanted us to, see more and see what's next. So on a curve, it's an A+. with the standards from the other spin-offs and the previous season for Daryl Dixon show. But objectively, I would go with Rich with a B plus as well. Really good episode. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah. Either way, it's good. That's the one thing people to take away from this. We're enjoying
Yeah.
this show, and you should be enjoying it as well. Everybody should be, because it's throwing everything at it. Just up. What's the best way to say this? Because I wasn't that compared to Fear, for example. Fear felt very much like we have a very low budget for
Soap
some of
opera.
soap opera element. We're gonna do a lot of talking, a lot of walking. We're gonna do a lot of backtracking. We're gonna say a lot of double speak. I'm gonna say one thing and then flip on you in the same episode, and it seemed like it was going back and forth, nothing really progressing. It was just nonsense toward the end. The first few seasons were pretty good, but with the hotel and all the boats and lighthouses, but then it started dragging. This here, as you see, we're on location. It's a great cinematography going on here, great audio, everything sounds fresh and unique. It just feels like its own show. It doesn't feel like something forced of like, oh, we had some old sets, so let's just repurpose this to make it look like France and throw Daryl in. It doesn't feel cheap is the other thing. It feels like some real care and quality of a show and product, and people should pay more attention to that, because I think when people think spinoffs, they always think, oh, half-ass or money grab, and that's not the case. Yeah, there's money to be made here, of course, because of The Walking Dead and the IP and all that, but this is fresh storytelling. Remember, Daryl is not from the comics, so they can't pluck things from that. This is all new content coming out from this, just like we have with Dead City and stuff. So, and I like Dead City as well. I'm hoping that they continue with the production quality on that level come season 2. But yeah, I think everybody should be enjoying this so far. Maybe it's too soon to put high praise, but hey, there's only 6 episodes in this season, so we're almost halfway. It'll come next episode. Crazy, right? But yeah, thanks again, people, for tuning in and subbing and following us, and just sticking around for the journey that is The Walking Dead, because it's still going, people. It's still going. Go ahead, tell your friends that are in disbelief about all this. Oh, it should have been over again. No, it shouldn't, because there's a lot of story to tell. A lot of creative stories to tell. This was already far-fetched to think about Daryl and France, but hey, he's there. Carol made it. She's there. Let's tell this story and let's just get this going. And it's kind of wacky and interesting at the same time. So I'm all in. I'm enjoying it. And we will be back next week for episode 3. So thanks again for liking, subscribing over on iTunes and Spotify and YouTube. If you haven't, go ahead and do so, because we are still covering this. I think we're one of the longest running dedicated to The Walking Dead. Yes, there are some others out there, but they are now covering other shows, which is fine. Good, do all the other stuff, but we're sticking true. So if you ever see us post an episode on this channel when it comes to the I Am Negan, you are not going to find other things on there besides Walking Dead content. So thanks again for all the support, and we will see you next week, everybody. Peace.
Peace.